Hi, I'm Suki. Welcome to Getting Psychic, where you can listen to me use myself to test the theory that anyone can get psychic. Hello and welcome to Getting Psychic. I'm here again with my guest, Todd Bryson. Todd is a certified Akashic Records practitioner who's dedicated to raising mass consciousness by assisting old souls in their hero's journey. He believes that everyone on Earth deserves to know who they are, where they came from, and why they came here. I'm going to give you an assignment of required listening before this episode, and it is Todd's first interview, which was episode 45, The Emotional Body in the Akashic Records with Todd Bryson. Welcome, Todd.
Hi, Suki. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
I know. I'm so happy to have you back. I felt like I needed to reconnect with you. It was weird.
You know what? The day you text me, I had some other stuff fall through, so it was like really exciting for me to hear from you. So thank you.
Yeah, strange how these things work. I think that I was getting really pulled to reach out to you because I feel like everything is moving so fast and so weird, even just since October when we recorded our first episode together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I wonder what Todd's perspective is on this.
Yeah.
Since you're always digging around in the Akashic Records. What's going on with you? What's new?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of new things and having a lot of new experiences in the Akashic Records, and all of that kind of started to come into shape around, the beginning of April this year. So I've kind of, I've been tying that change into my own personal journey. I've been tying that change into the clients that I see every day. And there's definitely something going on in the field. And, we observe shifts and changes happening in the external world. But, there are a lot of people who are, time is acting funny. My emotions are acting funny. My perspective has shifted. I'm curious about things that I didn't look at before. So there's a lot of, I think, more wind at our back than there was before, collectively and individually. And, depending on how we've been spending the years previously, is going to determine how we're experiencing this next phase of energy. So the ones who have been dedicated to, the study and to the implementing, the new revelations and insights that's coming forward, they're the ones who are going to be able to kind of take a step back and take a look at what's going on externally through, a more appropriate lens, I feel, than what we've had access to for a little while here on the earth. Yeah, so I think, the biggest changes will be in perception and the lens that we see things through. And there will also be people experiencing shifts in energy, shifts in, the approach that they take to navigating this place. Yeah, so, it's excited to see in I test in my sessions. It's a really focused environment. I have somebody come to me who is part of the Lightworker Old Soul community, but, they're doing their own thing. They're in their own home. Isolated is what they feel. And then, they report the same shifts and changes and movements in their perspective too. So definitely a lot going on, and it's fun to talk to the ones that are noticing. So
yeah, it's weird out there. I mean, I love that you said time is acting funny.
Yeah.
Because I'm walking around feeling like that's a perfect summation of how I feel. Time is acting funny. My perceived vision has changed. Things look different.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that a lot with people? And also tell me what time is acting funny means to you.
Yeah, time acting funny to me. I went through a phase where it was going really slow, it was going really fast, and then I kind of feel like I found a normalization. But mostly what I'm encountering is I'm getting singularity moments. I'm feeling like it's always perpetually 1 p.m. It's always perpetually 5 p.m. Just like you're arriving in these moments in time, almost like you just left it on a loop. So, the changes in time, it's an indication that the interface that you're connecting with reality through is shifting. So the soul's plugged into the body, what aspect of the soul is plugged into the body, what level of the soul is plugged into the body. And when the perception is shifting, it is that the multidimensional awareness is coming online and the linear awareness is falling away. And kind of the most focused aspect that we see that in is the passage of time. So if you are getting irregularities with time, you're definitely sensitive to the changes and the shifts that are happening. And, it tells us that things have gone according to plan if you're experiencing shifts in time.
So you're receiving this from all sorts of clients from all over the place that are unconnected.
Yeah, I do sessions with clients all over the world. Some never ever speak to another light worker or an old soul in their entire life. Most come to me trying to understand their situation and why they're feeling different and why they're feeling strange. So it's very easy for me doing 4 or 5 sessions a day to like connect the dots.
Yeah.
And I can also observe, I've been doing this for 5 years now. I can see patterns over time, with how people shift and change and like perceive their experience. So that's been a big advantage for me.
Okay, so right before I asked that question, did you say that's how you know you've arrived?
Yeah. So if you are having irregularities with time, it tells us that the strategy that you've implemented in coming to the earth is kind of working, because you are getting the shift in your perspective. You are getting the changes in your operating system for this place. So when we get these ascension symptoms, it tells us that the plan is working, the strategy is working, and that we're kind of arriving where we anticipated we would.
So before I incarnated in this body, I planned to be this uncomfortable.
Absolutely. The goal is embodiment. If accomplishing embodiment requires all kind of stress and pressure, we're going to do that. Um, we will take on any challenge, any frustration, any limitation if it points us in the right direction. And that's kind of an uncomfortable truth about this, is that your challenges are part of the plan. The challenges are part of the strategy. It is the job to get into the body with full, spiritual awareness intact. And, if that requires stress and pressure, we'll sign up any day of the week to do that. We'll wait in line to do that. We'll navigate through dimensional space, lifetime after lifetime, to have the opportunity to do that. So it is part of the plan. So.
Yeah. Um yeah, yesterday I thought it was good timing that I was going to talk to you because yesterday I think I said a couple times that I would really like to jump out of my skin. Have you felt that?
Yeah. When I started waking up in 2009, the goal was to leave. The goal was to go somewhere else. The goal was to like transcend the physical suit. And when I started opening and working in the Akashic Records, it took a very, very clear shift into, no, we're actually getting into the body. No, we're actually harmonizing the body. We're actually here to nurture and to take care and appreciate and utilize what the body has to offer us. So yeah, this place does from time to time want to make you get out of here. That's part of the test. That's why the ones who came for the job, they have the resume that tells us, we can accomplish this no matter what the conditions and circumstances. And it is a big deal that most of those who are listening to this have arrived at this point and stayed and focused on what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I like that you acknowledged that when we're all starting on this our spiritual journeys or whatever you might want to call it, there is the sense like, oh, it doesn't have to be all physical and concrete. I want to get out of here. I want to float up here. That's the draw.
Yeah.
And I just think it's funny that somehow that's getting flipped.
Hmm. Yeah, we during our awakening, especially in the the initial phases of it, we tend to like neglect the body, and we tend to like retreat from the world. But the idea is to come fully into the body and to use everything that it's equipped with to its full potential. And so coming into the body, that's how you leave. Coming into the body, that's how you get into the Akash. Coming into the body, that's how you get into the astral. And that's how you shift matter and density around you at will, is coming into the body and commanding and operating from this is the interface that I'm given, and this is what I'm here to work with.
Hmm. When you were saying that, it made me think back to the importance of how you utilize emotions in the Akashic field
Hmm.
and how they are such an integral part of being in our body
Hmm.
and processing. um I don't know, it's sort of like I've come to learn that everything that we're navigating here can come in the form of emotion.
Yeah, yeah. Emotions are definitely a really big part of it, and especially if you're one who's working in the Akashic Records, which most old souls and light workers are, whether they know it or not. They're entangling, they're working in the Akash in some way or another. The Akashic Records tends to be more like adjacent to the physical reality, in that emotions in the Akash, emotions in the physical reality really like determine a lot of where we go and what we do and what we have access to. Um, so, a healthy relationship with the emotional body is important for the awakening, because it helps you understand that the emotional body is, a tool of awareness. It's a tool of integration. It's a tool of clarity, even. It's not meant to get tangled up in density necessarily. It's not meant to drain itself with things that it can't control. So that is, one of the main areas of focus for the guides, is calibrating the emotional body for the right kind of physical, energetic type of experience on the earth. So that, we have this awakening and start shifting through all these emotions. It's really a recalibration of the operating system.
Interesting. Okay, so you mentioned this, but like how give me an example of someone working in the Akashic records without knowing it.
Yeah. So when we have our awakening, it actually starts happening way before we perceive it in our awareness consciously. Um, but you can, in your dream time, you'll work in the Akashic records. You'll tailor your field energetically. You'll cut timelines and things that you don't need. You might have a creative idea, and you might start working on that creative idea, not understanding that you've made a connection with something in your Akash. And this is actually something that you're remembering and retrieving, rather than like formulating new. Um, so most of the time, there is already an established meld with the Akash in a working relationship. And I can pretty much see that from the time I'm in session and I open Zoom. If there's Akashic activity, there isn't always, but there is most of the time. But yeah, the Akash is an unconscious participant, and then it becomes a conscious one, and then we can move into other aspects of creation as well from there.
Interesting. Okay, so you were saying that when you open a call with someone, if they're being influenced by the Akashic records, with or without knowing it, you can see that on them.
Yeah, so that is very clear, and most of the time I come into that awareness during like the opening process. So I then, that's where I gauge what the density is, where the resistance is, where the hesitation is, where the limitations are. So it's like the checklist that I go through changes depending on, what the compatibility is with the energy of the space already. So
Oh, okay. What do you feel like you need to talk about?
what do I feel like I need to talk about?
Yeah, like what's going on that's worth talking about?
Well, I can talk to you about some stuff that I've been doing and new experience that I've been having. You want to talk about that?
Yes, please.
Cool. So um I work in the Akashic Records with clients. I spend hours in the Akashic Records myself every day. Ever since April came around, I've been spending right after I put my little boy to bed, 9 o'clock. I've been spending like 10 p.m. all the way to 4 a.m. like getting downloads in the records, just sitting in spaces, exploring new places. And I've learned that the Akashic Records is one aspect of creator, and that there are 12 more aspects of creator, and that the Akashic Records are a portal into those other aspects. So, what I've been trying to do is get into those other aspects. And I've been using the Akashic Records as like the anchoring point to do that. So I've been getting a lot of really pure transmissions. I've been getting stuff coming through that, like, brings a lot of clarity to what's taking place here. And I'm working on stabilizing like the process and the methods that I use, and I'm learning, how to discern where to go and what to do and when. Yeah, when you open the records, it is a pathway for other things outside of just what the benefits of the records have. So we've tapped into some new stuff in that regard.
Holy cow. What? Okay. I mean, everyone's curious. Are you not sleeping?
So I usually sleep 5 a.m. to 10.
Oh my God.
And thank goodness I have two little kids. My son and my daughter, they'll wake up at 9:30 with my wife, and then we'll just all get up together at 10. So
Okay, that's amazing. I was gonna say, like, how are you sleeping through little kids? But you got them on a good schedule.
yep, they're good sleepers, thankfully.
Oh my God. You're gonna be in trouble when they start school.
I am.
You're gonna be like going to their teachers. This is really interrupting my Akashic practice.
Well, my 5-year-old graduated preschool yesterday, so I think we've got some summer to get some good stuff on our belt.
Yeah. So you are sitting in a meditative state for 5 hours a night.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Okay.
I can be sitting there on the couch with the TV on. I can be sitting there with my wife, and I can be completely immersed within myself. When you work in the Akashic Records and in the multidimensional spaces as much as I do, it's very easy to flip the switch. There's just a constant stream of information. And what I do is I hold myself there with focused intention. So you learn how to access the space. You learn that it's resonance to get there, and once you find the resonance, you can just kind of plug in when you want to.
Mhm.
And then the wife goes to bed, and I sit there from midnight to 4 a.m., just kind of taking notes and looking at stuff and having fun.
Okay, I'm like kind of laughing because I get annoyed if I'm trying to watch a show with my husband and he falls asleep. But you're like exploring the 12 realms of the Akasha. Does your wife know about this, or do you just
She kind of does. She's very, very much like not spiritual at all.
Yeah, we talked. I re-listened to our last episode and we talked about that.
Yeah.
Um, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you start opening the multidimensional door, all of that stuff that you can do in your dream space, it just becomes part of your everyday waking life. And then you can use it to have fun. You can use it to study. You can use it to practice things. It's not like a flip that you switch necessarily, like I said.
Hmm.
It just becomes part of the standard system that you work with. So
Wow. So you mentioned that the beginning of April, which was approximately, I don't know, let's say 50 days ago,
uh-huh.
something has changed. Can you put your finger on it?
Yeah. So, like, are you talking about for myself, or are you talking about collective
Well,
stuff?
do both. We got time.
Okay. So the changes started for me by going into the Akashic Records and just kind of getting the idea, go to this place. So I go to this place and this whole bag of stuff opens up, and then that turns into the phase of dedication and study and like devotion to the space that I've had recently.
Hmm.
And I think that the collective experience is kind of a byproduct of a similar process. Like something new becoming available, something new that's been integrated, getting access to something energetically and collectively that is like shifted the tide or whatever you want to say. I kind of feel like there's been something come online that was dormant before. And that is probably most likely Atlantean spiritual tech,
Okay.
time capsuled for the energy that we're in now, starts releasing information and frequency that will help humanity wake up and remember, because we were always supposed to. And kind of the Atlantean, the old kingdom job, just make sure that we came out of the fog of forgetfulness. So, it's probably Atlantean stuff that's doing it.
Okay. I was like, you're gonna have to give this something a name.
Yeah.
And there you go. Do you have more to say about Atlantean tech? Because I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So we see, the agenda by the ones that want to keep everybody asleep. We'll call them the opposition. It's us. Nothing scary, nothing mysterious about it. It's us. The Atlanteans were tasked with preserving all the data that they could. And they did this within fifth dimensional, what they call lattices. And you can go into the Akashic Records and you can see like the blueprints of the lattices. So what they did is they took the awakening out of the hands of the lower frequencies and just kind of made it a fifth dimensional process that would automatically, like open up and awaken at the right time, at the right
Hmm.
place. The Atlanteans knew that there would be separation. The Atlanteans, a lot of them, not everybody was on board with it's going to happen. There was a lot of efforts to like prevent the separation, but ultimately it was our job to make sure that our stuff would come back online. And that's why we don't care about trillions and trillions of dollars invested against old souls and light workers. It's the operating systems are far, far beyond monetary and media and that kind of stuff. So it's Atlantean stuff waking up that's making everybody feel funny.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess you kind of covered personal and collective response to that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so like after our last episode where you mentioned that, like, let's see, what's your exact quote? You said the Akashic records lie. They were they were baseline seventh dimension frequency. Okay.
Mm.
And has that evolved at all? Because I feel like I received some pushback on that and I wanted you to expand on that.
Well, probably the understanding can evolve. And, I grow a lot, and, I get a lot of new information. And when I get that new information, I implement it as quickly as I can. My understanding is that it takes a seventh dimensional resonance to like open the space the way that I do. The way that I see the records, the way that I like immerse myself in the records, it takes seventh dimensional like frequency, seventh dimensional resonance, which is not necessarily climbing the ladder of dimensions. It's about the frequency of your intention. Basically, it's about the clarity of the signal that you hold and your ability to operate in the space.
That makes sense. So it's not exactly about where they quote unquote lie, but it's your
Right.
frequency and accessing them.
Yeah. It's described as a space or a location, and I hear about that stuff all the time. To me, it's just a frequency, a plane, a frequency. that happens to be tailored for a certain aspect
Mhm.
of creation. And you definitely have to move beyond third dimensional frequency to get in there and to have experiences there. The higher that you climb in your resonance, the more you'll probably have access to.
When you are working in seventh dimension frequency or bringing yourself
Hmm.
to that frequency, I don't know if you can even answer this, but how do you do it? What's it like?
How do we do it? So we do it by years and years of clearing away illusions and distortions and false identities and closing timelines and echoes and loops and all that kind of stuff. Um, I did it initially because I had to. I was in what I believe a life and death situation. I used the Akashic Records to clear all of that stuff, that pressure that we talked
Mhm.
about before. Um, so when I first did it, it became a matter of maintaining compatibility to do it. And, now that I've kind of found stability, my process for opening is just you focus intention, you've cleared away any of the illusions that might distract you, any of the aspects of yourself that might limit the experience. And then you just kind of go in because it becomes a memory, it becomes something that you remember, not like something that you're walking into first. The first time you go in there, it's just pure memory. This is my space. This is where I go. I've been here before.
Mhm.
So getting to the place where you can move in that manner and have the experiences in that manner, it takes a lot of clearing of what you are not and bringing forward what you are. And that's the hard part. That's why those who are waking up now are going to have a little bit of an easier time, because those who woke up previously in denser energies, re- revolutionized the healing, the clearing, the way to do it. Um, so the ones that are listening to this are interested in spiritual gifts. Opening the Akashic Records and working into the Akashic Records can be a way of rebooting the system. So you don't necessarily have to know how to go in the way that I do, but everybody should know that it is a space that is available to them consciously or unconsciously. There's no worthiness, there's no like I've got to accomplish or achieve this before I do it. Everybody should be opening the records today. And I can teach you how to do that if you want to.
Is this a contradiction? I felt like, yes, I definitely do. And when you started explaining it, you said it was from years of clearing away things, uh, energetic restrictions, presumably in your own body. Was that specific to you, and now things have changed, or
So what I'm communicating is I went through a lot of really hard like activations and awakening processes so that I could help others avoid
okay,
those things. So the energetic compatibility to do it for most will be cultivated over long stretches of time. Then those that go through the fire of awakening are meant to help others understand the way that it works and do this, avoid years of mistakes,
okay.
just do this.
And are you comfortable talking for a second about the life or death situation?
Sure. So I had a health issue that I hid from everybody. And I basically got to the point where my body like turned off. And this was right at a very important threshold in my spiritual journey. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, like I think we talked about in the last episode. But I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know that it was very severe. And I got to the point where my body, I felt like I was teetering, on that kind of, in that
Mm-hmm.
threshold, and then got it taken care of. But, that when we look back at it, it's uncomfortable to look at, and it's uncomfortable to think that that could have actually been part of the plan and the strategy all along. But there really is no spiritual, non-spiritual. There is no, this is a non-spiritual aspect of your life. This is a spiritual aspect of your life. Every detail of this experience is planned and choreographed and structured to do exactly what I'm doing today. So I can look back in hindsight. Should I have made better choices? Should I have, taken care of myself better and had more self-worth? Sure. But I can also look back and see maybe I would not have been doing what I'm doing today at all without all that pressure. So
Yeah, got it. Thank you. You want to go into the records?
sure. So we can go in as like a little bit of a reading for you, or we can even like give field perspective on, the show that you
Oh,
have.
that's
Or we
funny.
can talk directly to listeners.
Well, maybe all of the above, but that's really funny because I jotted down a couple prompts, and the first one is, what is this podcast meant to do and who made me do it? What will it do for people? So that was kind of like, but
Yeah,
I think because I want it to also be for my audience. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, let us open the records and I'll let people see how to do it. And we'll talk about all three things. We'll talk about you, we'll talk about the show, and we'll talk about the ones listening.
let's party.
Start the process now. Okay, I will open now. When we go into the records, we go in with no expectation. We ask all the questions that are on our mind, on our heart. Do we get answers to everything? We hope so, but not always. Not everything is meant for us. But anticipate getting everything that we've like shown up looking for. I'll start now. Om. Om. The field will now open the Akashic Records with this Om, so be it. Om. Okay, the records are open for us. We use our breath, we use our voice to focus our intention. When I'm doing Sacred Om, when I'm doing heavy breathing, I'm instructing pieces and parts of me to accommodate the intention. So we open the space and we practice reverence. We don't go, we don't do, we just sit and be initially, and then we move forward. The main thing in opening the Akashic Records the way that I do is to not get overly excited about what comes through. You just want to stay neutral. You want to practice temperance. You want to act like you've been there before. When we open the records today, I observed what is called the barrier of belief, which is something that we're looking to dissolve in opening the Akashic Records today. Barrier of belief is distortion that stands between our original state of being and point of operation. It creates limitation that doesn't need to be there. Opening the Akashic Records can dissolve barrier belief. I have also opened the records into the Temple of Mirrors. This is a space where we can reflect without illusion. This is a space that can show us who we are and how we show up. So we're going to start with Suki, who's kind of steering the boat here. I'm observing with Suki what is called the silent portal. Stillness is a necessity for her. Stillness can help her find her 0 point again. Stillness can dissolve some of the loops that her cognitive processes tend to run into. Okay. Sometimes she has a busy mind and she's got to be the one who breaks the flow of the busyness. She'll do that with intentional silence. Suki should rest without guilt. Suki should allow herself to rest without guilt. There's a lot of it invested in her state of being. Her vibrational state is important for accessing and staying compatible with potentials that are in the field for her. She should rest without guilt because it is productive rather than counterproductive. Suki also needs to avoid absorbing the urgency of others. She needs to avoid borrowed urgency. Okay. I have a group of 2 who are arriving out in front of me now. Okay. So these are Pleiadians in uniform. I do have names coming through with them. Guides are letting us know that they will be using music triggers to inspire Suki, and that she will have pathways opened through aligning with the right frequency and vibration emitted through the air in the form of song. There are codes in music for her. There are codes that open pathways for her to formulate the right questions to ask. There are codes within music that open spaces within her that create greater ability to reflect and contemplate. When we find a song or a music or song that captivates us and gets the juices flowing, we should spend as much time with that music as we can. The guides also let us know Pleiadian name is coming through now. Okay. The name is, this is a male, Veron. Veron. There's a lot more to that name that I can't really pick up on. These are advocates. Those who love us and want what's best for us and want to capitalize on the opportunities that we have together today. The guides for Suki are going to be doing what is called profundity testing. Okay. How much significance can she observe in the ordinary? How special can what appears to be on the surface as unspecial, how much of that can she see? Your lens that you observe reality through is shifting to see significance in everything. Not significance that comes and goes, significance and appreciation as our baseline. They're putting things in your path to make sure that they're gauging how much profundity can you observe within things? You might also benefit from taking inventory before you shut the body off at night. Don't let the days come and go. Don't let the passage of time become a burden, especially as it shifts and changes. Every night before you go to sleep, observe what took place during your day. That will help it solidify in memory so that we can regulate the passage of time. Shifts in the passage of time are anticipated to occur, but we can also adjust the interface. We want Suki to know that Spirit is in a phase of let's show her. Let's show her what she's working on. Let's show her the importance. Let's show her our perspective of what her actions and motivations mean for this place. It is her job on the earth to help with normalizing multidimensional perception. She is to create gathering points for ancient intelligences approaching phases of remembrance. The transmissions that she shares, the ones that she brings on the show, they're not just there to bring the revelations. They're not there to use their word crafting. They're there to broadcast codes underneath the words. So the ones that would be drawn to a show like this, they're looking for the codes. They're looking for the energy and frequency that can move and motivate the fractals of their being into their original operation state. The words are nice, but they're secondary to the codes. Okay. We also need to understand that we are part of a process of engineering spiritual technology. We think that there's, a standard baseline operating system. This is absolutely the way that everything works. We're actually creating and coming up with all of it now. The spiritual experience on the earth in these physical bodies is very different than anywhere else in creation. So now that we're coming out of this amnesia, the point of the amnesia was to diversify the pathways that we have access to in the experience. So now that we're coming out of the amnesia, we're not reverting to a script of this is absolutely the way that things work. We're actually all collectively figuring out what is intuition, what is, clair-knowing, what is discernment, what is clairaudience, how do I focus myself and get more of it? How do I replenish my spiritual pieces and parts to get more of it available to me? Okay. I'm going to do one more sacred Om, and then we'll continue with what's next. I also have a larger group that's making itself known here. It is important that the ones who might listen to content like this, that they start commanding the field. That they stop the process of deferring, asking, begging, requesting, Dear Spirit, bring this to me. Dear Spirit, this will take place in my reality today. Dear Spirit, this is what I require for the stories that I'm telling. Dear Spirit, this is what I'm calling forward for the experiences that I want to have. Let us understand that we are here to steer the boat. We're not here to defer to external systems and even collectives and beings that might be of higher intelligence and awareness, at least what they appear to be. We're the ones in the body. We're the ones with the knowledge and information. We're the ones with the familiarity with the dimensional space. Understand that you've come into this form with full authority and clearance to move what you discern needs to be moved here. Old souls and light workers and those that are spiritually curious need to start formulating exit strategies. We wake up in conditions that are a byproduct of lesser healed versions of ourselves. The faster you move on from the job that you're not supposed to be in, the better. The faster you move on from the bad habit that's taken away your frequency, the better. You are not what you receive, you are what you implement. We are what we implement. All of this curiosity is not just to be written in a pad and a page and lie dormant. It's meant to be implemented in the reality around us, and you've received it as part of the blueprint for holding your embodiment. The ones who are listening to this need to be mindful and careful about attaching to identities, even within spiritual structures and communities. Understand that identities in the third dimension serve a very powerful and profound focus and can actually focus our efforts and the frequency that we're bringing to the surface. Okay. But if we get wrapped up in too many third dimensional identities, that's actually creating more separation between our original source and who we really are. The ones that are listening to this are likely visionaries and dreamers. We often, as visionaries and dreamers, get frustrated with the linear path and the linear approach to manifesting. Okay. We are here to work. We are here to remember how to work the puzzles. If you have something that you've been hoping would arrive, if you have something that you've been waiting to work on, don't wait anymore. Start working until you find tipping points. And Suki knows about this. You work little by little on something until eventually it becomes a thing and you've got to invest everything in it or not. Those tipping points are easier to access than our limited linear self might be willing to accept. Most of the ones listening to this would benefit from active meditations just like I did. A lot shifted for me when I moved away from the sit and be still, don't do anything, clear everything away, sit in darkness kind of an approach. That does work. It does have a big role to play if you're awakening, like we've learned for Suki. Stillness is something that we should find as often as possible. But the inner world is meant to be a source of infinite potential for us. It's not meant to be a void. Use active meditations and understand that that inner world of yours is a storehouse of energy and frequency that you're meant to go and get and bring back into your now for yourself or for Mother Earth. So this larger group that's made itself known is a harmonic council. And they help me with a lot of what I just talked about. So how are you feeling over there? Do you have questions coming through for you? Do you have anything that you've come up with to ask?
Yeah, I feel great. Okay, I do have one more weird question.
Okay.
To ask these councils that are showing up. So like something happened a couple weeks ago with my heart, or at least that energy center. Like a huge clearing, and then probably a week or two of just energetic explosion. Like I would wake up in the middle
Yeah.
of the night every night, and it felt like my heart chakra was getting infused with light. It was not subtle.
Yeah. So when you had like, was there like a physical issue with the heart? Like something weird happened physically to the heart? Or was it just all energetic, emotion, sensation, that kind of stuff?
Um, I think it was all energetic, I but I could feel it physically. Is that what you're saying?
Mm. Hmm.
The lead up, definitely like the main event that occurred that led into multiple weeks of waking up in the middle of the night feeling like my heart was getting infused with something was sort of like it felt like a healing and a major release. Like say if I don't know
Mm.
if you've ever done it, but like say you feel into a very intense emotion and you're like,
Okay.
"Wah!" Like I felt like I released something huge that I didn't know was there. And then so I would love to know what they have to say
Yeah.
about that. Crazy.
Alrighty. Yeah, I'm gonna do Sacred Ohm, and then we'll answer as clearly as we can. Om. What we experienced was a removal of meridian plugs, which is allowing for integration and activation of higher heart systems and function. So you're actually experiencing and, having, feeling like your heart is going to explode, feeling like there's an infusion of something. Your heart space has increased its capacity for flow of energy. This is a new kind of like fuel system for the higher heart. This is the heart coming to the surface more prominently. This is the heart, getting its voice back. This is the heart being the tool of expression and storytelling on the earth that we've always wanted it to be. So this is an energetic shift in operation, and this experience, it's going to normalize, but you for a few weeks experienced, an increase in your capacity for feeling sensations in the heart. So that means, there's been activations in the heart, and the heart is actually going to be a more prominent aspect of the system. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because I even to this day I walk around and I feel like it's like a live wire in there. It's like I feel like I'm feeling and responding to things in my heart. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Do you feel like you've been very like mostly logical, operating from the mind space from this to this point, or do you feel like you've been balanced for the most part?
You know what the weird part is? I think part of that whole process was of balancing and sort of like re-accessing my feminine side. And
Mm.
so that's what I intuited about it for some reason. And yes, I feel like I have previously or always been very analytical and
Yeah, you kind of have to be to like structure
yeah.
things the way that you have, and to make decisions the way that you have, and to move forward with the worthiness that you have. So it would make sense that you've established a lot. Now the heart can feel more comfortable and safe in coming out and like being more
Yeah,
involved.
it's weird. Okay, well thanks for filling in the blanks in for that one because that's been
You're
so
welcome.
weird and cool. Okay. What what do you want to share with our audience before we sign off?
Yeah. So that there was a question about how do you know people are using the Akasha consciously or unconsciously? How do we start working in the records when we don't have, the years of letting stuff go and clearing stuff and going through the fire? This is something that comes through in session for very old souls who have a task of dealing with all the stuff that they've collected over time. The ones who are interested about what you're broadcasting on this channel are old souls and light workers, the ones who have walked through time to stabilize this place and to co-create. Before you go to sleep at night, dear Akash, in this now moment, I let go of what I have but don't need. Dear Akash, I let go of what I have but don't need. This gives the records and those keepers of the space permission to clear away stuff that you don't need without it coming into your awareness and having to like purge it intentionally and consciously. The ones who are listening to this should wake up in the morning. Dear Akash, in this now moment, I call forward what I need but don't have. That clears expectation, that accounts for we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we need. Your guides, the Akash, at that moment in time will be able to observe the potentials in the field, and they'll be able to say she needs this aspect from 600 years ago. They need, this trait, this quality, this imprint from 1200 years ago. And they can bring that all in the now so that it accommodates opening the pathway that you're trying to open for yourself, rather than trying to fit, a square peg through a round hole every single day energetically. That for most is the next phase and the next pathway of intentionally living, working, and tailoring ourselves for the experience.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Okay, why? I feel like lately I've heard so much content about, and I'm not even like online pursuing spiritual content, honestly. I'm just doing my own
Yeah.
exploration. But I keep hearing people talking about the way in which to communicate with our guides, our spiritual team, and you mentioned it yourself. And it's kind of like, don't you don't have to beg them and worship them. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, what's up? Let's get this done. It's more like that.
Yeah.
I keep hearing like, we're your peers. Let's go.
Yeah, they do see us as equals, and they don't want to be like worshipped or any of that at all. They see us as absolute equals. There's no hierarchy. There's no deferring to forces and systems above us. The ones that are supposed to be here have the authority and have the resume to do everything that we need to do in this place. So the guides, they're going to be responding less and less and less to that kind of a broadcast to them, because this is the time where we take the training wheels off. This is the time where we use our instincts and our skills to the best of our ability. Definitely the way that we broadcast what we need to manifest, to get clarity, to get support, whatever it is, do it from a place of command the field. The field responds to command coming from clarity and sovereignty. That's how it works. The world around you will pressure you and pressure you and pressure you until you figure out how it works. The begging approach is going to be less and less. They're going to have less and less allowances to work with that kind of a pathway. And when you wake up and you fully get into your body, your guides go away. They leave completely. They don't, they then take on witnessing roles rather than leadership or guidance roles. And then it becomes all on you in the suit, working from that point of view. It's all on your shoulders anyway when things are said and done. Might as well start working like that now.
Oh wow. Okay. Cut the cords, kids. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates so much. It really makes sense to me. So, I think
Yeah.
that's amazing advice. Okay, do you have time for one more question?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I think about this a lot. Protection versus expansion. Um when you're going into the Akashic field, are you like putting on an armor of, like 10,000 crystals and doing all sorts of protection, or do you just trust that your energy has you covered?
I let my frequency speak for itself. I spend absolutely zero effort and intention worrying about guiding or protecting myself, shielding myself, blocking things, keeping things out. Um, maybe you should do that, but um, really anything lesser is going to be immediately obvious to me.
Okay.
And the frequency that I hold is incompatible with a lot of lower things that people are worried about. We don't necessarily in this new energy need to walk into a room and, clear the room with ritual and intention. We clear the room by showing up and letting energy and frequency speak for itself. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
That's what I've been taught. I've always considered protecting, like implementing protection, worrying about protection. I see that as deferring my power to somewhere else. I see that as, taking what I'm capable of and putting limitation on it to whatever external or outside system might have an agenda against me. If there are guides who are focused on that stuff, I let them do that. But my intention is just to move and to work and to shift things as I see fit. And I'm not worried about what's coming to get me. As soon as I stopped worrying about that kind of stuff, that's when I started, having more access, having more freedom, having more autonomy to work in the spaces than I did before.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me personally. And do you have anything to say to people who are, whatever, newly exploring spiritual realms? And I feel like a lot of people go into this and that's the first thing they learn. Okay, ground and protect, ground and protect, ground and protect.
Yeah, so those are, what I just said is going to ring a lot of alarm bells for the ones that have been doing this for a long time. But that is part of the old energy. That's part of the old earth. That is not necessarily what we should be working on and focused on now. So focus on curiosity, focus on creativity, focus on having experiences and telling stories in your spiritual time. Worry less about what's coming to get you, because that's always taking what your power is and what you're capable of and putting it in somebody else's hands.
Okay.
And as soon as you do that, you lose a lot of pathways and a lot of potentials that might be available to you otherwise. So.
Totally. All right. Well, if anyone has a problem with that, don't at me. Contact Todd. Take it up with Todd himself. And I will, of course, link your website in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of always running specials for readings. So how do people find out about that? Do they just sign up for your mailing list?
Yeah, so usually when people book with me, then they get on the mailing list. If you let me know when this is going to come out, I can kind of like start something if you're looking to do sessions with me. I'll do like a first time booking kind of a thing.
That's good. I mean, I feel like you gave us approximately at least 5 gems of really important info. So
Awesome.
I think it's been really helpful. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as we did. Be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss a new episode. If you liked today's episode, please consider leaving a review to help the other psychics find their way here.